Ambassador Kate stood at the center of the grand chamber and waited for silence. The massive room held representatives from 47 species, but most of them were talking among themselves. Some were checking their devices. A few were openly laughing at jokes their neighbors whispered. Kate did not mind. She had expected this. High Counselor as finally raised one of his 4 arms and called the session to order. His scaled face showed boredom as he looked down at the human woman. She was so small compared to most species in the room. Her soft skin and lack of claws made her seem fragile. Her people had been part of the Galactic Council for only 60 years. In cosmic terms, they were infants. Ambassador, as said, you requested time to address the Council. Please be brief. We have important matters to discuss today. Kate nodded politely. She pulled out a small data chip and placed it on the speaking platform. Honored members of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice calm and clear. I am here to inform you that the United Human Territories will be withdrawing from Council membership effective immediately. All human personnel, vessels, and equipment will be removed from Council space within 30 standard days. We thank you for the time we have spent together, and we wish all member species peace and prosperity. She stepped back from the platform. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Trade Minister let out a wet, gurgling laugh. His slug-like body shook with amusement. Is this a negotiation tactic? He asked. Are you hoping we will offer you better trade terms? Because I must tell you, Ambassador, your position is not strong enough for such games. Kate shook her head. This is not a negotiation. This is a notification. The decision has been made. Admiral Al, a massive warrior with armor-plated skin, clicked his mandibles in what passed for a smile among his kind. The humans are throwing a tantrum. How very like them. They will return within a cycle, begging for protection from the raiders. Several other representatives laughed. High Counselor as waved a dismissive hand. Very well, Ambassador. Your notification is received. You may go. Kate bowed slightly and walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the vast chamber. Not one representative called after her. Not one asked her to reconsider. Not one asked why. Only Ambassador, a slender being with silver skin and large dark eyes, watched Kate leave with something like concern on her face. She had worked alongside humans for decades. She had shared meals with them, learned their music, read their literature. Something in Kate's manner troubled her deeply. This did not feel like a tantrum. This felt like goodbye. Outside the grand chamber, Captain Sam Griffin was waiting. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and the kind of face that had seen too much but still hoped for better. He fell into step beside Kate as she walked toward the transport hub. How did it go? He asked. Exactly as we expected, Kate replied. They laughed. Sam nodded slowly. The evacuation is proceeding on schedule. All civilian transports will be clear of Council space within 2 weeks. Military vessels will hold position until the last transport is safe, then withdraw. Kate stopped walking. She turned to look back at the Council building, a massive structure of crystal and metal that reached toward the stars. Humans had helped design the communication systems that kept it running. Humans had written the software that translated between hundreds of languages in real time. Humans had served on the maintenance crews, the security teams, the medical staff. None of that had ever mattered. I keep thinking about the early days, Kate said quietly. When we first made contact, we were so excited to join something bigger than ourselves. We thought we had found a family. Sam put a hand on her shoulder. We found out what we were really worth to them. Now we know. They walked in silence to the transport hub, where dozens of human families were boarding ships. Children clung to their parents, confused about why they were leaving their homes. Workers carried boxes of personal belongings. Some people were crying. Others looked relieved. Dr. Lisa Warren was coordinating the medical evacuations. making sure that patients in council hospitals were safely transferred to human vessels. She looked exhausted, but her voice remained steady as she directed her teams. "How are the patients?" Kate asked her. Lisa shook her head. "The council hospitals tried to charge us triple rates for their final treatments, said it was a rush fee. I had to threaten to go public before they backed down." "Even now," Sam muttered, "even as we are leaving, they try to squeeze us for more." Commander Ben Taylor joined them, his military uniform crisp despite the chaos around them. He had been warning the council for years about the threat, about the instability in the frontier sectors, about the coming resource shortages. They had ignored him every time. "Final security sweep is complete," Ben reported. "All human technology has been removed or disabled. We are not leaving them anything they can use." Kate raised an eyebrow. "We are not trying to hurt them, Ben." "I know," Ben replied, "but we are also not going to let them profit from our work anymore. They want to stand on their own. Let them stand." The last transport was ready to depart. Kate took one final look at Unity Station, the great hub of galactic civilization. Humans had helped build this place. They had bled for it, worked for it, dreamed of it being a true home. It had never been home. They understood that now. As her ship pulled away from the station, Kate watched the lights of the council headquarters grow smaller in the viewport. Somewhere in there, the representatives were probably already forgetting that humans had ever been part of their assembly. That was fine. They would remember soon enough. The jump to hyperspace was smooth and silent. In moments, Unity Station was gone, replaced by the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel. Kate sat in her cabin and allowed herself one moment of grief for the future that might have been. Then she straightened her shoulders and began planning for the future that would be. Behind her, the Galactic Council continued its session. Trade Minister proposed a new tax on medical imports. Admiral Al requested funding for a new fleet. High Counselor has approved both measures without debate. No one mentioned the humans. No one noticed that the translation software was running slightly slower. No one realized that the station's medical bay had just lost half its staff. Ambassador sat alone in her quarters that night, staring at a small gift Kate had given her years ago. It was a simple wooden carving of a bird in flight. Kate had called it a dove. She said it was a symbol of peace among her people. Held the dove carefully in her delicate hands and wondered what the council had just lost. She was afraid she would soon find out. 3 months had passed since the humans left, and Trade Minister was beginning to sweat. This was unusual for his species, which normally kept cool even in extreme heat. But the reports on his desk were making his body react in ways he could not control. The medical compounds were running out. He had not realized how much the council depended on human pharmaceutical production. Humans had been supplying 60% of the galaxy's affordable medicines. They sold them at cost, never trying to make large profits. Had always thought this was because humans were foolish. Now he understood it was because humans actually cared about helping people. That kind of thinking was foreign to him. He had spent his entire career finding ways to extract more value from trade deals. When humans asked for fair treatment, he had laughed and added more taxes to their goods. When they complained, he had told them they were lucky to be part of the council at all. Now hospitals across 12 systems were reporting shortages. Patients were dying from diseases that had been easily treatable just months ago. The other pharmaceutical species were raising their prices, sensing opportunity in the crisis. Sent an urgent message to High Counselor as, requesting an emergency session. The emergency session did not go well. Admiral Al arrived with his own problems. The defense grids on the frontier colonies were failing. Humans had been maintaining them for free, calling it goodwill missions and humanitarian service. Al had mocked this as weakness. Real warriors did not give things away. Real warriors demanded payment for their skills. But real warriors, it turned out, did not know how to fix the complex systems humans had installed. The defense grids used human programming languages that no other species had bothered to learn. When Al's engineers tried to repair them, they made things worse. And then came. There were raiders, pirates who preyed on weak targets and avoided strong ones. For decades, they had stayed away from Council trade routes. Everyone assumed this was because of the Council's mighty fleet. The truth was simpler and more embarrassing. They were afraid of humans. Human patrol ships had responded to attacks with speed and precision that terrified the raiders. Human captains did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They protected civilian vessels as if those strangers were their own family. They had learned to recognize human ship signatures and flee at the first sign of them. Now there were no human ships. They noticed within weeks. The first attack destroyed a passenger liner carrying 300 civilians. The second attack hit a cargo convoy, stealing food meant for a colony of 2 million. The third attack was the boldest. They struck a Council military outpost and won. Admiral Al sent his best fleet to crush the raiders. He used battle tactics from the ancient wars of his people, formations that had conquered star systems. They cut his fleet to pieces. What Al did not know was that humans had shared their tactical databases with allies in the region. They had captured those databases years ago. They knew exactly how Council fleets would move. They knew nothing about human tactics, which was why they had always avoided human ships. Al returned to Unity Station with half his fleet destroyed. He did not attend the next Council session. No one blamed him. High Counselor as called the situation a temporary logistics issue. He blamed poor planning by lower officials. He blamed outdated equipment. He blamed everything except the obvious truth. Ambassador could not stay silent anymore. She stood in the grand chamber and spoke words that no one wanted to hear. "We drove the humans away," she said. "We taxed them unfairly. We mocked their culture. We them basic respect. And now we are paying the price for our arrogance." As slammed his fist on his podium, "The humans abandoned us. They are the ones who should be blamed." "They asked for fairness for 60 years, replied. "We gave them contempt. What did we expect would happen?" The chamber erupted in angry shouting. Some representatives agreed with, most did not, as called for order and dismissed her concerns as emotional weakness. That night sat alone in her quarters and composed a message. She addressed it to Kate, care of the United Human Territories. She wrote about the suffering she was seeing. She wrote about the children dying in hospitals. She wrote about the colonies living in fear of raids. She asked if reconciliation was possible. The reply came 3 days later. It was polite, it was formal, it broke her heart. "Ambassador, we received your message and we appreciate your concern. The United Human Territories has no plans to rejoin the Galactic Council at this time. We wish you and your people peace and prosperity in the difficult days ahead. Please do not interpret our absence as hostility. We simply cannot return to a situation where our people are treated as lesser beings. We hope you understand. With respect, Ambassador Kate." Read the message 7 times. She noticed what it did not say. It did not say never. It did not close the door completely. But it also did not offer help. Humans were watching the Council suffer, and they were choosing not to intervene. Part of was angry at this. How could beings who claimed to value compassion stand by while innocents died? But another part of her understood. Humans had offered compassion for 60 years. The Council had spit on it. Why would they offer it again? She forwarded the message to Az. He dismissed it as human manipulation. He told her to stop communicating with the enemy. Did not argue. She simply returned to her quarters and looked at the wooden dove on her shelf. Somewhere out there, beyond the borders of Council space, humans were building a new life without the species who had rejected them. They were probably happier. They were definitely safer. And the Council was falling apart. The next morning, 3 more systems reported critical medicine shortages. A colony near the frontier sent a distress signal. Ships were in orbit. The colony had no defenses. By the time Council ships arrived, the colony was burning. As gave a speech about strength and unity. He promised that the Council would overcome this challenge. He blamed human sabotage for the failing systems. No one believed him, but no one was brave enough to say so. Not yet. 8 months after the humans departed, the Empire declared war. They had been enemies of the Council for centuries. They were aggressive, territorial, and hungry for expansion. Only one thing had kept them in check for the past 60 years: human diplomats. Humans had a strange talent for finding common ground between enemies. They listened when others shouted. They found compromises when others saw only conflict. Kate herself had spent 15 years mediating disputes between they and their neighbors. She had prevented 3 wars through patience and understanding. They had respected her. They had never liked the Council, but they had trusted the human woman who spoke to them with honesty. When she left, they felt the leash had been removed. 3 Council species found themselves under attack simultaneously. Their fleets were already weakened from fighting They could not hold both fronts. High Counselor has called for emergency military spending. The treasury was nearly empty. Trade had collapsed without human shipping routes. Taxes could not be collected from systems that were burning. Food shortages spread across 12 systems. This was perhaps the surprise of all. Humans had developed drought-resistant crops and shared them freely with anyone who asked. They had taught alien farmers how to grow food in harsh conditions. They had never patented their discoveries or demanded payment. Without human agricultural experts, the crops began to fail. The techniques were too complex for local farmers to maintain alone. Fields that had fed billions now produced nothing. Refugee ships began appearing at the borders of human space. Commander Ben Taylor stood on the bridge of his patrol vessel and watched the sensor readings. Dozens of ships, packed with desperate civilians, were waiting just outside human territory. They were begging for entry. They were begging for food. They were begging for the help that humans had once given freely. Ben had served on the frontier for 30 years. He had protected Council convoys, saved Council colonies, buried human soldiers who died defending people who never thanked them. He had every reason to turn these refugees away. "Sir," his communications officer said, "they are asking to speak with whoever is in command. They say they have children aboard. They say they are starving." Ben closed his eyes. He thought about his daughter, safe on a human colony far from here. He thought about the Council representatives who had laughed at Kate. He thought about all the times he had warned them that this day would come. Then he opened his eyes and gave his orders. "Let them through. Direct them to Station 7. Make sure the medical teams are ready." His officers looked surprised. Ben understood why. Humans had been treated like servants for 6 decades. Now they were supposed to help the people who had mistreated them. "They are not the Council," Ben said quietly. "They are just people, scared, hungry people. We do not punish the innocent for the sins of their leaders." The refugee ships crossed into human space. They were the first of thousands. Far away, in a comfortable office on a human colony world, Dr. Lisa Warren watched the news reports from Council space. She saw the burning cities, the overcrowded hospitals, the mass graves. She saw children with hollow eyes and adults with no hope left. She had dedicated her life to healing. She had worked in Council hospitals for 20 years, treating patients from dozens of species. She had never refused to help anyone, regardless of how they treated her. But she had also been there when Council administrators cut funding for human medical programs. She had watched them redirect resources to species they considered more important. She had held the hands of human patients who died because Council hospitals put them at the bottom of every list. Her assistant entered the office with a cup of tea. "The news is terrible today," the young woman said. Lisa nodded. "It is going to get worse before it gets better. Do you think we should help them?" Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "I think that question is tearing our people apart right now. Half of us want to help because that is who we are. The other half want to let them suffer because they let us suffer first." "What do you want?" Lisa looked at the images on her screen. A child crying over her mother's body, a council hospital with no medicine left, a food distribution center where the line stretched for miles. "I want to help," she admitted. "I always want to help, but I also understand why others do not feel the same way." Back on Unity Station, Trade Minister was trying to hire mercenaries. The council needed soldiers, and they needed them fast. Human peacekeepers had been the backbone of galactic security for decades. Finding replacements should have been simple. It was not. The mercenary companies wanted payment in advance. They wanted rare minerals, advanced technology, exclusive trade rights. They wanted things the council could no longer afford to give. When offered them lower rates, they laughed at him. The same laugh he had given humans when they asked for fair treatment. High Counselor has faced a vote of no confidence. Representatives from suffering systems demanded his removal. They blamed him for driving the humans away. They blamed him for ignoring the warnings. They blamed him for everything. As survived the vote, but only barely. He gave a speech afterward, blaming human sabotage for the council's problems. He claimed that humans had planted hidden viruses in their systems. He claimed they had poisoned the soil to destroy crops. He claimed they had secretly paid the to attack. None of it was true, but some people believed it because believing it was easier than accepting responsibility. Then a recording leaked across the galactic network. It showed Captain Sam Griffin speaking to a group of human settlers on their new colony world. The recording was 6 months old, but someone had just released it to the public. "We never asked for gratitude," Sam said in the recording. "We never expected them to thank us for every medicine we made or every life we saved. We only asked for one thing, respect. Basic, simple respect. And in 60 years they could not give us even that. So we left. Not to punish them, not to watch them suffer. We left because staying was destroying us. We left because our children deserved better than being treated as second-class citizens in a galaxy we helped build." The recording spread like fire. Species across the galaxy watched it. Many agreed with Sam. Many felt ashamed. A few remained angry. But everyone understood, finally, why the humans were gone. And everyone wondered if they would ever come back. 14 months after the humans departed, Unity Station burned. They had grown bold. They no longer feared the Council fleet, which had lost battle after battle. They no longer avoided populated systems. They attacked wherever they pleased, taking whatever they wanted, killing whoever resisted. Unity Station was supposed to be untouchable. It was the heart of galactic civilization, protected by the most advanced defense systems in known space. Those systems had been designed by humans. When the fleet dropped out of hyperspace, the station's automated defenses activated. For exactly 12 seconds, they functioned perfectly. Then they shut down. Error messages flooded every screen. Systems that had worked flawlessly for decades suddenly stopped responding. No one knew the passwords. No one understood the programming. No one had ever bothered to learn. They tore through the station's outer sections like predators through prey. Emergency bulkheads sealed, but the raiders knew exactly where the weak points were. They had studied human engineering for years, looking for vulnerabilities. They had found them. High Counselor Az was in his private chambers when the explosions began. His guards rushed him toward the emergency escape pods, but the corridors were chaos. Fires burned everywhere. Bodies lay on the ground. The screaming seemed to come from all directions. A raider found them near the docking bay. Az tried to run. He had spent his entire life giving orders from comfortable rooms. He had never faced real danger. He had never felt true fear. The raider was faster. As lay dying, his last words were a command. He grabbed the arm of his surviving guard and hissed through the pain. "Get the humans back. Tell them we need them. Tell them anything they want to hear." Then he was gone. The battle for Unity Station lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 3 sections of the station were destroyed. 40,000 people were dead. The grand chamber where the council had laughed at Kate was nothing but rubble and ash. Ambassador survived because she had been in the medical wing, helping with the wounded. She had refused to hide in a safe room while others suffered. She had carried children to safety while the station shook around her. She had held the hands of dying strangers and told them they were not alone. When the surviving representatives gathered in what remained of the station, they looked at with new eyes. She was covered in blood and dust. Her elegant robes were torn. She had not slept in 2 days. But she was the only leader still standing. "We need to contact the humans," someone said. It was a representative who had once called humans primitive and emotional. Now his voice trembled with desperation. "I will go myself," replied. "No messages, no recordings. I will go to their territory and speak to them in person." No one argued. No one had the strength. Took a small ship and crossed into human space alone. She sent no advance warning. She simply flew to the nearest human colony and requested permission to land. The response surprised her. "Ambassador, you are welcome in human space. Ambassador will meet you at landing platform 7. Please follow the guide beacon." They had been expecting her. Perhaps they had been expecting someone like her for months. Kate was waiting when ship touched down. She looked older than remembered. There were new lines around her eyes, new gray in her hair. Leading a people through such a painful separation had cost her. But her eyes were still kind. That was what noticed most. "Ambassador," Kate said, extending her hand in the human greeting. "It has been a long time." Took the hand carefully. Human customs still felt strange to her, but she had learned to appreciate them. "Ambassador, thank you for seeing me. I think we both knew this day would come." They walked together through the human colony, saw schools filled with children, markets filled with food, hospitals filled with patients receiving care. The humans had built something beautiful in their short time away from the council. "Your people seem happy," observed. "They are healing," Kate replied. "For the first time in 60 years they feel valued, they feel safe, they feel like they matter." Stopped walking. She turned to face Kate directly. "I came to apologize, not just from myself but on behalf of the council. What we did to your people was wrong. We treated you as servants when you were partners. We mocked your kindness when we should have celebrated it. We drove away the best friends we ever had." Kate listened in silence. "As is dead," continued. "Unity Station is in ruins. They are advancing on 3 fronts. Our people are starving, dying, suffering in ways we never imagined. And I know we deserve it. I know we brought this on ourselves." Tears ran down Silver's face. "But there are innocent people out there, Kate. Children who never harmed anyone. Families who just want to live in peace. I am not asking you to save the council. I am asking you to save them." Kate was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was heavy with emotion. "We have been debating this for months. Since the first refugee ships arrived at our borders. Since the first reports of the famine. Since we saw the images of the attacks." She looked up at the sky, where distant stars shone cold and bright. "Half of our people wanted to let the council suffer. They said it was justice. They said it was fair. They said we should protect ourselves and let the galaxy burn." "And the other half?" asked. Kate turned back to face her. "The other half said that revenge is not who we are. Letting innocents die to punish the guilty is not who we are. We left because we refuse to lose ourselves. If we become cruel now, we lose ourselves anyway." What did you decide? We voted. It was close, but compassion won. Felt something she had not felt in months, hope. Kate continued. Dr. Lisa Warren is already assembling a medical convoy. Commander Ben Taylor will provide military escort. Captain Sam Griffin is coordinating food shipments from our agricultural worlds. You were already preparing, realized. We were waiting for someone to ask properly, with humility, with honesty. Kate put her hand on shoulder. You are the first council member who ever admitted you were wrong. That matters more than you know. Thank you, whispered, thank you. Do not thank us yet, Kate warned. Commander Taylor wants me to make something clear. We will help your people, but things will never go back to how they were. We will not be servants again. We will not accept disrespect. We will not pretend that 60 years of mistreatment did not happen. I understand. You taught us something valuable, Ambassador. You taught us the worth of our own dignity. We will not forget that lesson, ever. Nodded slowly, she understood. The humans were not returning as junior partners. They were returning as equals or not at all. It was more than the council deserved. It was exactly what they needed. 2 years after the humans departed, the galaxy began to heal. It was slow work. The scars ran deep. Millions had died from war, disease, and famine. Entire colonies had been abandoned. Trust between species had shattered like glass dropped on stone. But the humans were helping, and that made all the difference. Dr. Lisa Warren had become a symbol of hope across council space. Her medical convoys brought medicine to worlds that had been dying. Her teams trained local doctors in human techniques. She worked 18-hour days, slept in hospital corridors, and never complained about the conditions. When reporters asked her why she was helping people who had treated her species so badly, she gave the same answer every time. Doctors do not choose who deserves to live. We simply try to save everyone we can. That is what makes us doctors. Commander Ben Taylor had pushed them back to their home territory. He did not use the brutal tactics that council admirals had favored. Instead, he used precision and patience, cutting off supply lines and forcing surrenders without unnecessary bloodshed. When they finally asked for peace, Ben sat down with their leaders and negotiated a treaty. They were shocked. They had expected punishment. They had expected revenge. Instead, humans offered them a chance to join the galactic community as legitimate members rather than raiders. Many accepted, some did not, but the threat was broken and that was enough. Captain Sam Griffin became the human representative to the new Galactic Assembly. The old council had dissolved in the chaos after Unity Station fell. Something new was being built in its place. Sam was offered the position of High Counselor. He refused. We did not help you so that we could rule you, he explained to the gathered representatives. We helped you because it was right. Leadership should go to someone who understands the mistakes of the past and is committed to building a better future. The representatives chose Ambassador as their new leader. She had proven herself during the crisis. She had admitted fault when others made excuses. She had risked her life to seek help when others hid in fear. On the day of her inauguration, gave a speech that was broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. We stand today in the shadow of our failures, she said. For decades, we built a civilization on the labor of others while denying them the respect they deserved. We took their medicines, their crops, their protection, and their kindness. We gave them nothing but contempt in return. She paused to look at the human delegation sitting in the front row. And when they finally said enough, when they walked away with quiet dignity instead of violent anger, we called them weak. We called them emotional. We called them children throwing a tantrum. Shook her head slowly. We were the children. We were the ones who could not see the value of what we had until it was gone. The humans did not abandon us. We pushed them away, and the consequences of that choice will echo through our history forever. She straightened her posture and lifted her chin. But today we begin again, not because we deserve forgiveness, but because the humans chose to offer it anyway. They did not have to help us. They did not owe us anything. They helped because that is who they are, and we must become worthy of that gift. A memorial was built on the rebuilt Unity Station. It was a simple wall of black stone, carved with the names of every human who had served the Council over 60 years. Doctors, engineers, soldiers, teachers, diplomats. Thousands of names, representing millions of hours of work that had gone unrecognized and unthanked. At the center of the memorial was a larger inscription. They gave freely, we took blindly, may we never forget what that cost us all. Young aliens began studying human history in schools across the galaxy. They learned about a species that had faced countless challenges on their home world and had somehow emerged with their compassion intact. They learned about human art, human music, human philosophy. They learned about a concept called hope, which humans carried with them even into the darkest times. Some older aliens grumbled about this. They did not like seeing humans celebrated after so many years of treating them as inferiors. But their children did not share their prejudices. The young generation saw humans as heroes, as examples to follow, as proof that kindness was not weakness. Kate returned to diplomacy, though she kept her role smaller than before. She trained young diplomats from many species, teaching them the art of listening and compromise. She was patient with those who struggled and gentle with those who failed. One day, a young student asked her a question that had been bothering him for months. "Ambassador, after everything the Council did to your people, how can you work with them again? How can you trust any of us?" Kate thought about the question for a long moment before answering. Trust is earned, not given. And yes, the Council broke our trust badly, but holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. We cannot change what happened. We can only choose what happens next. She smiled at the young. Your generation did not mistreat us. Your generation is learning from the mistakes of the past. Why would I punish you for crimes you did not commit? That would make me no better than the people who hurt us. The student nodded slowly, understanding beginning to dawn on his face. On a rebuilt colony world, a human child named Emma played in a garden with her new friend, a young alien named. Emma was teaching how to play a game called tag, was confused by the rules but delighted by the laughter. Their parents watched from nearby, a human mother and an alien father who had met during the reconstruction efforts. They had fallen in love over shared meals and long conversations about what the future might hold. "Do you think it will last?" the alien father asked. "This peace we have built." The human mother watched the children run and play, their differences forgotten in the joy of the moment. "I think it will last as long as we remember why it matters, as long as we teach our children to see each other as friends instead of strangers, as long as we choose hope over fear." She took her partner's hand and squeezed it gently. "The galaxy is not perfect. It never will be, but it is better than it was, and maybe that is enough." Above them, ships from a dozen species crossed the sky, traveling together through space that had once been divided by suspicion and hatred. Human vessels flew alongside alien ones, protecting each other, helping each other, building something new together. It was not the future anyone had planned. It was not the ending anyone had expected. But it was a beginning, and beginnings, as humans had always known, were full of possibility. In her office on Unity Station, Ambassador kept the wooden dove on her desk where she could see it every day. It reminded her of Kate, of human kindness, of the price of arrogance and the power of humility. Sometimes visitors asked her about it. She always told them the same thing. "It is a symbol of peace. A human gave it to me when I needed hope most. I keep it to remember that the smallest gift, given with love, can change the entire galaxy." And so it had.